I was kind of praying about it. I felt like, Lord, I'm not sure if working in a shop, building furniture and selling it or whatever is something that how does that fit into your kind of purpose for me? And and I got up in the middle of the night and he just kind of spoke this into my heart. He just said, I want you to start a toy company, a non-for-profit toy company. I want you to make toys for missions for underserved kids, partner with local charities. And so that's when it started. And 2 weeks later, I had a dream to confirm that. And I was flying up to the top of the mountain. And at the top of the mountain was this big white screen. And there was this little boy, like a silhouette, kind of a movie theater. And he was on his knees praying, and there were these toys kind of floating around him. And I said, okay, I think I got the message. I think this is what I'm supposed to do.
And now, a few minutes with two of my friends who will soon be yours, the Techie and the Cowboy. And now, a few minutes with two of my friends who will soon be yours, the Techie and the Cowboy.
All right, all right. Welcome to another episode of The Techie and the Cowboy. My name is Alistair Hunt. They call me The Techie, along with my good friend
T.W. Lawrence, and they call me the Cowboy.
And we have a special guest on who I got to meet on the recent trip to Gulu, Uganda. He was my roommate. We were bus mates. We got to be on long plane flights together. But his story, the story of how it is that he ended up going to Africa and kind of what led him up to there, I was like, man, we got to get you on our podcast. So welcome, Drew. Welcome to the podcast, brother. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good, good. So give me a little bit of your background. Before it is that we get to, the trip and going to Uganda and everything else like that. What did you do before? And how did you see kind of God show up in the past in your life? Just give us your story, man.
So I was a teacher, taught technology ed for 35 years, basically wood shop, metal shop, little robotics, 3D modeling, all that kind of stuff. And I had been retired a couple years and wanted to put a building up to build some kind of a wood shop, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. But I started. I had the building uh, constructed, and then I started doing the interior and so forth. And last May 20, 2024, I was kind of praying about it. I felt like, Lord, I'm not sure if working in a shop, building furniture and selling it or whatever is something that how does that fit into your kind of purpose for me? And and I got up in the middle of the night and he just kind of spoke this into my heart. He just said, I want you to start a toy company, a non-for-profit toy company. I want you to make toys for missions for underserved kids, partner with local charities. And so that's when it started. And 2 weeks later, I had a dream to confirm that. And I was flying up to the top of the mountain. And at the top of the mountain was this big white screen. And there was this little boy, like a silhouette, kind of a movie theater. And he was on his knees praying, and there were these toys kind of floating around him. And I said, okay, I think I got the message. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So went through the process, started the process, and actually the kind of the process to go to Uganda started even before that
All
that
right, before we get
that
to
call.
Uganda, talk about how that affected you. I mean, because whenever you get a vision, right? Or were you a visionary guy before? Were you like a guy that normally got visions type of?
So not a whole lot of, I mean, I feel like, if we are connected, if our relationship with our Heavenly Father, if Jesus is the Lord of our life, and we're connected, then he does guide us. He does direct our steps, the word of God says. And but I never really had dreams. I never really, and so God has spoken to me in times, not audibly, but I felt like a sense of, yeah, this is the direction you should go. But I can't remember. I only can remember a couple of dreams in my life that that I actually remember when I woke up, kind of. And this was one that really had an impact. So, um, yeah, it kind of changed. And so I said, okay, Lord, if you want me to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, and he basically, when he kind of said, all the things I did as a teacher, all the prep, all of um, the skills and all the software understanding and the machine and woodworking, you're ready to do this. Um, and so that's kind of where it was at with that. And it was exciting. And I was just kind of humbled, almost like God, you picked me for that. Like I never would have thought about doing this. You know what I mean? Like, how did that? It wasn't in my thought process. It was like, okay, what are we going to use this for? We're going to make some money. We're gonna build furniture. We're going to sell whatever. So, but toys weren't on the agenda. I made toys with my kids in school. We did all kinds of cool stuff like that, but it wasn't one of the things that was on the my thought process. And I was like, man, you came up with that, Lord, not me, because I didn't come up with that idea. It wasn't my idea. So yeah, that's
Because
kind of
it's
how that
funny,
went
we
down.
talk about sometimes we're waiting for the big booming voice, right? And we talk about on our podcast before how it is that sometimes it's the slight nudges that you get from God that is his version of talking to you. But how cool is it whenever he actually gives you a direct, like, this is
Oh
it,
yeah.
this is clear something vision. So I think it's really awesome whenever people get that. All right, so you get the vision to be able to make the toys and then you say, "Hey, I think this is what I'm going to do." How did things kind of fall into place after that?
So then so that was in May, and I started to go through the process to become a corporation. Came up with a name. Waymaker Creations is the ministry's name, and then I got my 501c status. I got the building closer and closer to completion, and then I just started working on prototypes and ideas um, of how I was going to make these toys and make them small enough that they could travel well over seas or emissions, and come up with some designs. And I also had a purchase 3D printer, so I was printing my own wheels. And then I purchased a CNC router, which is what I use to cut the profile of the toys out. Bought a couple little sanders and just started kind of working my way through creating ideas and some inventory, giving to kids at church and uh, for the Samaritan's Purse Operation Christmas Child boxes at our church. I provided toys, um, and and so then the big push was this trip to Uganda. So if I go backwards, in April of that year, before this even was a start, I was on a cruise and I met Mark and Debbie Bloom, and they told me their story, and we really connected. My wife and I really connected with them, and we were doing some Zoom calls and just kind of connecting and staying connected. And then I'm like, when this happened, when this all transpired, and I knew Mark was did some missions trip, I said I really want to go on a short-term mission trip, and I want to bring toys with me. And so then it was, okay, we need so many toys by this deadline. So I started, getting volunteers to help me, kind of set up in my one-car garage, do what I could at that point, to get enough that I could I could bring, what I thought was enough, or as many as I could bring in 2 suitcases, basically, is what I ended up doing. So and then yeah, and then the trip came, and so I was ready. Figured out ways to pack everything, and packed everything, weighed everything, and I was ready to go. Never been overseas. Never. It was the longest flights I've ever been in my life, so it was like an adventure for me. You know, I knew
Hey,
Mark, and I knew no one else, but I knew Mark, and I just I'm going. So that was it.
and not only was the flight long, but then you had the bus ride as well. So
Oh man,
it was like travel on top of travel. We got to know each other as a group a lot really well in a 10 hour
yes,
a bus ride to
yeah.
be able there. But I think it was I think God made it happen the way that it was supposed to happen. Because through all of that, before we even got to the missions part, we had a great opportunity to be able to spend time, get to know each other, the devotionals, just all of it together. it's all by design. Nothing is by accident, right?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and
For
so the
sure.
bridge being out and us having to double our bus ride was was all by design, which is pretty cool. All right,
Yeah, it
so
was cool.
you decide that you're going to do this now. This is all self-funded, right? Like you're all funding all this
Yeah.
yourself, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So my thing, I feel like as far as finances is that, God talks about a lot in his word. And I think it's not about like he just wants your heart, and when he says tithe and he asks you to give 10% or whatever, it's all his anyway. And
Yes.
so it's not about he needs your money, it's about he needs your heart, and he needs to know that the finances, the money part of your life is not more important than he is. And
Absolutely.
so when I was funding this by myself, I'm like, okay, but it's all yours anyway. So yeah, so at this point, so then another thing happened too. I have a website I just got up right before the trip, waymakercreations.org, and that's for free. I had made some connections through a trip I was at. Like God doesn't, he doesn't. There's no coincidence in his life, in his world, And so my wife and I were on a weekend marriage thing, and uh, Georgia, and the couple that was leading it said, "Bring your some toys. We want to share your story." So I share my testimony, and then on the way out of the door from that session, share my testimony. One of the young women and one of the couples came to me, gave me a piece of paper, said, "My dad, I loved your story. My dad builds websites. He wants to help you." So he's hosting it. He's designing it, building it for free. So yeah, so that was kind of a cool thing to kind of, the next step in the process, because I know that in order to get some funding, I need people to know what I'm doing, and they have to believe in what I'm doing, that it's something that's good.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's kind of where we're. So at this point, I created some social media stuff. I'm starting to do some posts. I posted about the trip, and I have some things coming up. So one of the things is I want to connect with local charities. And one of the ideas was to maybe offer toys to first responders. So I'll show you, I just came up with this. This is a quick prototype I made of a
Cool.
police car. I just 3D printed it, but this part will be out of wood. And so I just did that last night. I'm like trying to make a little bigger one than the ones that I brought. This is about 6 inches long. And then I have some ideas about maybe breathing or whatever. I'm not really sure yet, but I'm trying to work that out where I want to create some inventory so that I can say, okay, this is what I have, offer them for that they can maybe, let's say, the police keep them in their car and they go to a house and there's a problem or whatever, or anything. It could be a fire, it could be an accident, and there's kids there, they could hand a kid a toy, kind of make a connection.
Absolutely.
Firefighters the same way. There's all kinds of things I'm seeing now. Like there's one charity in our area that supports foster kids where they give them like a gift box of stuff when they move into a new house. So I just need to have some inventory to be able to start, connecting with those people. But that's kind of so I don't want the ministry just to be like taking stuff overseas. I want it to be kind of local also, so domestically also. So,
How
yep.
exciting is it that God gave you one vision and it's just kind of expanding in so many different
Oh yeah,
areas and so many different directions. When you talk about tithing, people automatically think about money, but tithing your skills, tithing your time, using what it is that God has given you to be able to do other stuff, I think is a big portion of it, right? So
right.
like even the gentleman who it is that did the website for you, he's tithing his skills that he has and his
Amen.
time to be able to support something else. And that stuff always comes back around. Even though you're not supposed to expect it, it always comes back around tenfold. So that's really exciting, not only for you, but the people that are involved, people who are helping you assemble the toys. All those people
Yes.
are going to
Oh
be
yeah.
extremely blessed, just for supporting you and your ministry. So that's good,
Yeah,
right?
that's one of the cool things too. I think it's both the people that help. Like my dad's 84, and he doesn't have a whole lot to do. So once I get up and running, I'm going to have him come a couple days a week for a couple, 2 or 3 hours, and just assemble cars or toys. And I have other people that already said to me, "I want to help you with that. I want to help you with that." So there's definitely some skill element to it, but there's also some that's pretty safe and simple, assembly kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see where God takes it. He said to do it, so I trust him. He'll provide for it, you know, and I think once people know what I'm doing, understand what I'm doing, I think then the support will grow also.
Yeah.
And the other idea is to actually sell, like, so you know how like we went on our trip and I pulled the toys in, you know, a couple suitcases.
Right.
And I know when we were in Uganda, um, Reynold and Kathy said the best way to get toys to us is through another team. So the idea is to offer like kind of churches. A lot of churches have groups go, you know, short-term mission trip, and offer them like to purchase toys. They're going to buy toys anyway, a lot of them to take on trips, and that probably the price it so that it would be like if they bought one toy, I'd be able to give the toy away for free. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing. So I got to work on that with the website, and I want to actually visit some churches and kind of share that story too. So that's another idea I have.
Yeah, we also talked about kits because I know, like, my wife, she's over children's ministry at her church. They often have sessions where it is the kids come in and do something like assemble
Mm,
bracelets. As one time they were putting together flip-flops to be able to send overseas or whatever else like that. So having kits where they could actually the kids could come together and put together the toys to be able to send over. TW, I see you flailing your arms there.
Yeah, I have an idea for you, Drew.
okay, I'm ready.
My Sunday school class is in the process of putting together Christmas packages that we'll send out, I guess, around Thanksgiving or so. I know they've been passing around cards saying, will you commit to here's the things we want, commit to it. So I'm buying 3,000 pencils so we can put them together in little packages and send off. So if I could buy one of your things that has you have the Jesus loves you on the bottom of the things, right?
Yeah, here's one here.
Yeah,
So that's a truck
yeah.
right
So that's
upside down.
fine. So if I could get one of those just like that and run it by the lady who's in charge of this and say, hey, let's put one of these in each of the boxes that we do. And I think we sent out like 3,500 boxes last year. So so we
That'd
would
be cool.
The cool thing is
Oh,
that
that's
it'll
awesome.
give you a template and a prototype. So once you see how that works, then you can use that to be able to take to other churches and say, "Hey, Johnson Ferry, this is what we did for them." You know, more of a
Amen.
case
That's
study.
awesome for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And I can send you if you want to, you know, get me your information. I can send you like, uh, so I have a turtle and a car, and I'm going to work on. I have a duck, but I'm kind of ducks are too tough. I have one here. They're just kind of tough to sand. You know, a lot of more. So I'm going to try to create like a pig or something or a hippo, something a little easier with easier contours.
do you find that when you handed that stuff out on your mission trip there, that of the did did you what did you take? Did you take several different models?
Yes, I basically had them in bags, and so the kids kind of had a choice, but they didn't. Kind of, we went through. They were all sitting down,
Okay.
and we just kind of walked through and we handed them out.
Do you
So,
have any sense that there's a difference between boys and girls which they prefer?
well, I
Here, here there might be. In Africa, they didn't because remember, this is the first time that they
yeah,
probably got a toy, period, right? So they were just so
yeah,
happy to get, a toy to play with. They really didn't care. Here, you might have, a girl saying, "Hey, I want the duck one versus the car one or whatever else." And I did see some kids that were kind of trading and swapping a little bit,
yeah,
but I don't think it was
It-
based on, duck car. I think they just liked that. They thought that one was cooler than the other. Drew, did you
yeah.
see
And
anything different?
the
Yeah.
idea was to create like animals for girls, kind of, and even the colors of like the wheels. Some are orange, some are black, some are pink. So, in now our situation where we were, it was kind of like we had to get them out to the kids. And each, when I bagged them like 40 trucks in a bag. So I could keep account of how many I had. So they weren't like, wasn't like a mixed bag when we handed them out. So,
Right.
but yeah, definitely that's why I'm offering some different, yeah, animals, you know. So
Okay.
for
I
sure.
love the idea of the police car and the fire truck just because I know my son, when he was little, he was obsessed with police officers and firemen, and anything that he
Okay.
could get his hand on that was like police or fire or whatever else. They used to give him the little stickers to make him an honorary policeman for the day or junior policeman or junior fireman. And he used to wear those things. They would be out of sticky stuff, and he's trying to stick it back on. So I can only imagine if he had something like, a car or a fire
Yeah.
truck, how much that would mean to him. So that's going to be I can already tell you that's going to be a huge hit with the kids. And the
Cool.
firemen, like you said, have to build instant rapport for those kids to trust them, especially if they're
Right.
trying to get them out of a dangerous situation. So I think it's,
Mhm.
it's a brilliant idea to be able to give them something because now you've built instant rapport with that kid and they feel like they can that trust is easier to build from there.
Mm.
So
Awesome.
so I love that idea and that concept. All right, so
Yeah.
we get to you're taking the stuff. Tell me about the experience because I was there, but not everybody who's listening was when you actually were handing out the toys to the kids and their response to that, to seeing them playing with the toys and seeing them receive the toys and everything else like that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the kids are so well behaved and they're just genuinely seem to be happy, But when and they have very little, and they don't even know they probably have very little, but they do. Um, and it was awesome to be able to hand them something, and they were all excited, enthusiastic. And I know one of the funny things was that when we were making the salvation bracelets, and they came in these little baggies. So then the kids, once they done their bracelet, they started putting the cars and zipping them up in the little Ziploc bag as like keep them protected, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I saw one little boy. He already was in the dirt, like playing with them, and stuff. So um, yeah, I guess in toys have are not just they're a way kids learn, they're a way kids imagine, they're a way kids that kind of they have it's something they have ownership. When you give them something like that, like kids in America, that toy, one little toy is one of many they might have, and they might play with it for a couple minutes, and then it'll be in their toy box, and they'll get it out again or whatever. But these kids, maybe that's the only one. You know what I mean? And so I'm praying, and with the message of Jesus hearts you on the bottom, that it can be an impactful gift that kids could play with and enjoy, and basically know that, hey, God really is out there. There is a true God that loves you and cares for you. So
And talking to one of the leaders of one of the villages that were there, he was telling me the significance of it. Not only do they not have toys, but anytime they get something, they usually have to share it with their siblings. And it could be anywhere
mm,
from 3 to 8 people that are living in this little bitty hut. So for each kid to have their own individual toy meant more to them because they actually have ownership of something that's theirs instead of something that has to be
mm,
shared. So like you mentioned, whereas kids here in the US, they have tons of toys or tons of opportunities to get toys. This may be the only thing in their life up until their teens that they actually own that's theirs. That's why
yeah,
you saw them putting it in the bag and preserving it because to have something that is uniquely theirs is
mm,
is a big deal there, right? And that's
mm,
what emotionally hit me the most was seeing how much they treasured, something that, and even the little boy, my favorite video is the kid that was like, I don't know you, do I take it? I don't, you know what I mean? Because he wanted the toy, but he didn't know who I was, so he was real cautious of, is this mine? Like, is this really for
yeah,
me? Type of thing. And so I think that's some of the symbolism in it was the fact that you were giving them something that they got that was completely theirs, ownership of theirs, and their siblings got it too. So then there's no rivalry of having to
mm,
share it. I mean, there's a lot of deep meaning in that. That's why that was
mm,
it. Now we got to talk about Uncle Drew. So whatever it is that they introduced any of the people that came in, it was uncle or aunt, right? So it was Uncle Alistair, Uncle Drew, Aunt Carrie, and so they did that. But none of us got a chance. All of us got
yeah,
introduced, but Uncle Drew was the only one that got a chance. And it kind of started as, they were saying, if you want these
Morning,
toys,
Uncle
you got
Drew.
to
What's
stay
up?
with me, Uncle Drew.
¿Qué pasó,
Uncle Drew. And then
Waymaker?
it became a thing through a whole trip. So talk about the Uncle Drew.
So
Situation.
uh, the day that we went to the camp, the one camp, we were, the medical team was doing their thing and the kids ministry was doing their thing, and then we had planned to go on the boat rides, the motorcycles. So it wasn't, we didn't give out the toys. So I remember, I think he said to you, "Hey guys, just you know what to do, give them out." So I had planned to go, so I was going to go. I'm like, God, you'll take care of it. So we went on the ride, and we actually came into like Gulu City or the edge of it. And then they said, let's walk up here, whatever. And really, we were on the camp was like on the edge of the town or city. So we ended up walking up through the village from the bottom, and we came up, and I'm like, these kids are still sitting here. They're still doing this. I'm like, I thought they'd be done. And so I walk up, and I think it was at the point where the the kids ministry kind of prepped them, and they were kind of getting ready to give the toys out, and all of a sudden they start chanting, "Uncle Drew, Uncle Drew, Uncle Drew." And I
So,
was just kind
so
of
I
taken
was I
back.
was part of the prep team, right?
Oh,
And
you
so
were? Okay,
we didn't
cool.
think you were going to get back in time, right? You had given me the responsibility of kind of distributing the toys. So,
Yeah,
it was me or Alexandria that were talking, and they were translating, trying to explain the meaning of these toys and everything else. And they weren't really paying attention. They were looking at the toys, like they weren't paying attention. They were like,
yeah,
"These
yeah, yeah. I
toys,
noticed.
blah blah blah." But he said, in order to get the toys, you had to chant, "Uncle Drew." Uncle Drew. I was like, oh, let me get this on film. And then right as I start filming, guess who
Uncle
walks
Drew,
up?
Uncle
So,
Drew, Uncle
minus the
Drew.
pyrotechnics and the rock star, it was a rock star entrance for the Uncle Drew to come up as it is. They're chanting Uncle Drew and
That was
Uncle
cool.
Drew. It was a cool moment. I mean, we couldn't have
Yeah,
orchestrated or planned it any better.
yeah.
But then again, for you to be able to actually be the one that made the toys and giving it to them, there's meaning in that too. Versus
Mm,
us just handing out toys, they would have understood it, but they actually got to see the person who it is that made the toys that's
hmm
giving it to them. I was talking to somebody else and telling them about because we got to visit the boys' prison as well, and they said it wasn't as much about what you guys did; it was the fact that you were there for them, right?
mm,
Almost like the toys I was talking about. The fact that you took the time to be able to be there for them and to do
mm,
something for them. They don't get to experience that a lot in
mm,
life. And
mm.
so that was just as much as the impact of anything that we could have said, anything we could have done was the fact that we're there. So I think it was important for you to be there to be able to be the one who made the toys to give it to them because again, how many times are they going to have people who do stuff specifically for them in their lifestyle, which we take for granted here because we do stuff for
Mm.
other people and people do stuff for us all the time. But when you're in
Right.
a situation like that, it's not as common. So it means that much more, you know? So
Yeah, for
so I
sure.
mean,
For
it
sure.
was just a cool experience. All right, so tell us about what's your plans moving forward. What has happened since you've been to Uganda and since you've gotten your first set of toys out? You talked about the police and the fire, but well, what's your next big thing that you're doing with? First of all, what was the name of your nonprofit now?
It's called Waymaker Creations.
Waymaker Creations. So what's the next big thing for Waymaker Creations?
So the next big thing is I just epoxy painted the floor of my shop, so it's an empty shop, and I'm going to start putting the tools back in and getting it set up. I actually wanted to be down there, but I don't have my Wi-Fi extender. I tried it, but then I lost connection. I couldn't connect to my phone. I was just going to do it in an empty. I was going to sit in an empty garage, but anyway. Uh, so I want to once I get that set up, I want to start creating some inventory. And so, and then, like I said, working on the police car and that kind of stuff, and then also continue with the smaller toys. Um, and then once I get some generate some inventory, I'm going to start connecting with local charity, and then adjust the website. I have to add the pictures from the trip and kind of a page of where do the toys go or something like that, and then just do some social media posts, try to get the word out, and just try to get ideas for fundraising from people and my board. One of the board members, actually, here's another cool little thing he made. This is an articulated, uh, can't see it. It's a what do you call it? A starfish. And so they print these. They're all over the internet, but that's another idea I'm having to like. You could bring. I was thinking like a little alligator or something like that, or a turtle that has articulating arms, and they're kind of like a fidget toy, and I could bring 500 of these easy in a bag. You know what I mean? Like it's a little smaller. So that's some other ideas. Of course, the rattles that I made too, that I have to work on some ideas with that too. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at, and whatever, where like I said, once I get my equipment, like kind of, I know where I want everything in the shop. I still need to purchase some, so hopefully funding comes in for some of that too. And making, just start making, creating some inventory. And then once I have the inventory, being able to offer, like I said, first responders first, and then go from there. So,
Now we'll overlay your website address on the screen. Is there a place where people can go now and they can actually donate? Because I know there's going to be tons of people that are interested after seeing this. Is there a place where people can actually go and donate to be a part of it and actually buy the toys on the website now, or will it be soon by the time it is that this gets out to the public?
so yeah, there is a donate button or a giving button, but right now it's only on the computer platform. If you go on the mobile, on your phone, it doesn't show up for some reason. We're trying to work it out. But on your computer, if you go to waymakercreations.org, there is a button that says give, where you could give financially. There's also it's info at waymakercreations.org. If you wanted toys at this point, you could email me directly and then talk about it. There are some pictures of the toys on the website. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now until I kind of develop, get that developed. So hoping in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to update that website with what I need to get done. For
Anything final
sure.
that you want to say kind of about your mission, what it is that you're doing, for the people who it is that are watching?
I guess I just, I think our kids are so crucial to not only our society, but I have my first grandson. He's like a little over 4 months old, and I just think I look at him and I'm saying, no, as he develops, what influence am I going to have in his life?
Right.
And I just feel like children are so precious and so, um, as they develop and grow, and if we can just kind of encourage them and lead them in a positive direction to a faith in a loving, caring God. Um, and if these toys have a part to play in that, I'm so excited about that. I mean, I know, like, I'm not with the ministry. I'm not, I'm not trying to eradicate world hunger. It's something different. It's like, but it's what, like, God has all kinds of, the body has all kinds of parts. So
Yeah.
my little part, I'm hoping to be able to connect with all the other parts that maybe it could be a ministry that would help support other ministries, that kind of thing. So, and I'm excited to see what God does. I'm just really am.
Well,
So,
you never know that one toy could be the one thing that gives the kid something to distract them from all the other stuff that's going on in their life. And that one toy could be the difference for, like you said, kids just need to know that God loves them and Jesus loves them, and even seeing
amen.
that on the bottom of the toy may be the thing that keeps them connected, right? So
That's right.
appreciate you for all that you do. So we always end by saying, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. My name is Alistair. They call me the Techie.
I'm TW. They call me the Cowboy.
Okay, and then so you got to have a nickname. All of our guests have to have a nickname coming out. So who are you?
I'm Drew, and they call me Uncle Drew.
Uncle Drew, I didn't want to give it to you. You have to pick it. That was my name for you. And so with Uncle Drew, thank you so much for coming on, Drew. Again, we'll put all of your contact information in the comments, so that way people can connect with you. And thank you for coming on, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys,
God
we'll see you
bless.
next time. Let's roll that outro music.
That's it for this episode. Join us again next time for The Techie and the Cowboy. Hit us up on our website, thetechieandthecowboy.com. Let us know what y'all think.